Further charges are one count of murder.
What happened there?
This is a public plea for anyone out there that has information regarding the murder of Makeva.
The victim is Makeva Jenkins, a 33-year-old mother of three.
Makeva Jenkins was murdered in cold blood. Nothing was stolen. So obviously it was a targeted killing.
He forced all us to go upstairs. He walks into the room and the gun goes off.
My sister got shot in the head.
All right, we have units on the way, all right?
I held her in my arms. She was alive.
We didn't have a whole lot of money coming up, but if I had money, I would offer the biggest reward I could possibly have.
If I got locked up, would you help to get me out?
Yes, I would. Without a shadow of a doubt, bro.
He just told me he was gonna body him. That's what he told me.
Body means?
Kill him.
This case is about lies and liars.
Why should this jury believe that you are going to tell them the truth today?
It's always a challenge for prosecutors because bad guys don't hang out with choir boys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, could I have you all go out into the jury?
Oh yeah, I was gonna try to kill him. They took my sister away from me.
No.
Your wife is in a bar. You said she's unresponsive.
This is what he's going to tell you.
How to get out of that situation.
And I grabbed the gun.
He's trying to find the first place to put a body.
No, sir.
The only thing they could do was kill him.
You want to say anything? We, the jury, and to find the defendant.
Hi everyone. Hi Facebook. My name is Makeva Jenkins.
Makeva was loved by many.
Business strategist and coach with the Prime Enterprise Group. I help entrepreneurs.
She was a good role model, a good coach, and she was everything you could possibly want in a good woman.
Back in 2013, my family and we experienced a financial hardship, and I was homeless. We were homeless. And I still started my business in the midst of us trying to find a place to stay. And
she wasn't born into any money or any privilege, and she's someone who was rightly proud of her accomplishments.
So certainly, if I can go from homelessness to running a six-figure business, I can definitely help you do the same and achieve your business goals.
Makeva Jenkins and her husband Yuri lived in this house in Lantana, Florida, with their two children.
She met her husband at a church picnic, matter of fact.
He was a barber. That was what he did for a living. He was sort of a stay-at-home dad, and she was the primary breadwinner in the family.
On the night of June 28, 2017, Makeva Jenkins was at home. 2 hours before going to bed, she had posted on Facebook that after being homeless a few years earlier, she was now making multi-six figures, and her life was good.
She was pregnant at the time, which was the second time that she had been pregnant. She had had a recent miscarriage, and they were trying to have another child.
Emergency.
Lord, please get here now!
Hello?
Get here now, my sister is dying for her life, man. She's fighting for her life. My sister just got shot in the head. Somebody
who shot her, do you know?
No, they came in with an all-black mask on.
Alright, hold on 1 second, alright?
Oh my God, man, y'all get here, please.
Makeva's brother Marquavius, known as Quay, had been at the house getting a late-night haircut from her husband Yuri.
It was like around 2 o'clock in the morning. Halfway through the haircut, somebody walked in with a gun. I'm like, man, what the world going on? He walks over, snatches my barber shirt off me, and throws me down on the ground, like, get down. You think this a game? This ain't no game. Ain't nobody playing here. At that point, I just accepted my fate as, okay, if I die, I just die. He forced all us to go upstairs. As we down on the ground, he walks into the room and the gun goes off. The dude instantly runs out of the room and sprints out. Like he hauls butt. We run into the room, we see a hole in Makeva's head.
Yo, somebody call the police, man. My sister just got shot in the head. Somebody came in the house and tried to take.
All right, we have units on the way, all right? And we're the medics as well.
At first, detectives wondered if Makeva's boast of making big money had made her a target.
Who has means, motive, and opportunity to kill Makeva, who everyone loved?
But as detectives scoured the Jenkins home and the upstairs bedroom where Makeva was shot, the crime scene began to tell a different story.
Well, Makeva Jenkins was murdered in cold blood. Nothing was stolen. So whoever broke in and committed a home invasion didn't take anything. There was no money stolen, so obviously it was a targeted killing.
Today's date is June 29, 2017, time 4:46 a.m., case 17-096-159.
Well, the investigators start by interviewing the witnesses.
There was Makeva's husband, Yuri, who had been held at gunpoint. And there was a close friend of the husband, Dimitri Dale.
You grew up with Mr. Jenkins over here? In West Palm Beach through church. His dad was my pastor for 17 years.
And there was Makeva's brother, Quay.
But that night, everything was good. Everything was good. The whole vibe was good. The flow was good, everything. And then someone just pops out and comes through the garage with a loaded gun. Came in with a .38 special revolver. He had on a ski mask.
But Quay thought the shooter might have been someone who was at the house earlier in the day, visiting Yuri and Dimitri.
I had heard him earlier that day, and his voice seemed so much similar to that other voice I heard that day. So I'm like, yo, this gotta be somebody we know. Because we just heard his voice, man. Y'all just heard his voice.
So now detectives began to wonder if the unidentified shooter might have had some connection to either Makeva's husband, Yuri Jenkins, or his good friend, Dimitri Dale.
Yuri said that, no, this ain't nobody we know, but why is his voice sounding so much similar to how the dude sounded earlier that day? I didn't know what to think or who could have came in that house.
I held her in my arms. She was alive.
Yuri, he's very religious, Christian, cares a great deal about his kids.
And my baby girl, she don't really know what's going on. She's 1 year old. She'll never get a chance to see her mom when she gets older, when she gets her menstrual cycle. I don't know what to do. It's gonna be tough, especially being a black male, a single black male, widower, or whatever you call it. But man, it's gonna be hard, very hard, very hard.
But detectives would come to learn that Yuri and Makeva's marriage was far from perfect.
Well, he had had an affair. She had threatened divorce. He had had a child with another woman.
And it was all just a big mess. It was really, the cheating was there. Exactly, like the cheating was there.
The day after his wife was murdered, Yuri Jenkins went to a local strip club, Flashdance, and boasted about it on Facebook.
I think Yuri had made some comment, basically, he's not going to some white cracker bar, but is it any different than going to the local pub? Only because there's some naked woman in the background.
All those negative stories that are out there right now, what are your thoughts about that?
Honestly, everybody can go to hell.
When you have God-fearing people, you can't mess with God's people.
The funeral for Makeva Jenkins featured the choir from the church where she and her husband, Yuri, first met.
She loved him so much. She gave him chance after chance, At the funeral, he wasn't that emotional. Probably like 1 or 2 tears, but it was never, it didn't seem genuine. It didn't sound like he was all broken in half, you know?
This is a public plea for anyone out there who has information regarding the murder of Makeva.
2 weeks after the murder, detectives were still struggling to solve the case.
That is because the suspect, after murdering Makeva, left the scene in a white Dodge Charger. We believe that either that person left on foot, had a car waiting for them. The family is here.
Hi, I'm Gloria Harold, Makeva's grandmother, along with my daughters, my 4 daughters, and her granddad, Hercules. I would like to say we didn't have a whole lot of money coming up, but if I had money, I would offer the biggest reward I could possibly have to help us come to some kind of closure in this case.
Where's her husband today and the people that were in that house that day?
We have no idea about her husband or where he is.
Do you find that odd that the husband is not here with the family, standing by, asking the public for help in her murder?
I do.
I just want to get a sworn statement from you, so please raise your right hand.
In one interrogation after another, Yuri Jenkins was repeatedly pressed by Detective Sean Oliver on what happened that night. Did he recognize the voice of the gunman as his brother-in-law Quay had?
Had you ever heard that voice before from maybe one of your clients? Does it ring a bell? Anyone you know sound like that person?
And questions about his relationship with Makeva after she learned about one of his affairs.
That she actually told you that she was thinking about divorcing you?
That was when I cheated. With Tiffany. She kind of said, oh, when she got, when they get mad, she must say, oh, I still got the divorce papers. I'm like, baby, no, I'm not doing anything. I got on my knees. Baby, no, I'm not doing anything. Nothing.
And then a key question about Makeva being pregnant.
You never told me she was pregnant.
I thought I never told you that?
No. And if that was important to you, you would have told me.
I thought I told you that.
No, I would have known. I didn't find out till autopsy.
I didn't tell you that, for real?
I would have remembered that, because then I would have known it was 2 murders instead of 1.
I think I told you that.
And then why, when he was left alone by the gunman, upstairs, outside the bedroom, he took no action.
Since you had your phone on you during this duration, you're upstairs on that 2nd floor landing, and Quay's downstairs with the gunman, and just have to ask you, why didn't you call 911 at that time?
Did I have my phone? I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't even remember I had my phone on.
His brother-in-law, Quay, had wanted to jump the gunman.
We down on the ground. I'm trying to whisper to Yuri, like, man, let's do something. Well, man, how you just gonna let this man walk into your house like this and not do nothing? We gotta do something.
Why else would anyone want to go into your house and kill your wife? Because it's clear that that's their whole intention, was to just kill her.
There's no other reason.
So, was he a suspect? Sure, I had no doubt he was a suspect. I mean, that's just the way things work when one spouse is killed and the other is not, and you're both there at the same time.
Thank you for calling Northwestern Mutual. This is Carrie. How can I help you?
Then detectives learned about a call Yuri Jenkins made a few days after the murder, trying to collect on his wife's $500,000 life insurance policy.
I understand you have some questions.
About the beneficiary information?
And you were the spouse, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm actually seeing on the application here that you were not listed as beneficiary.
Oh, wow. Is it the kid?
No, and unfortunately I can't disclose that. That's considered confidential, and I can only speak to the beneficiary on file.
Okay, I gotta figure out who was... Oh, wow. Dang, she didn't change it in time.
Makeva didn't change the policy in time. I mean, that to me is like, well, why would you say that? Why would you say that?
Detectives thought Yuri's friend Dimitri Dale might know the answer.
Have a seat and the one right in. I just gotta have my parking keys on. There you go. All right.
And the key breakthrough was when they interviewed Dimitri Dale
And you came of your own free will, but because this is an ongoing criminal investigation, I'm going to do my standard read your Miranda warnings like I've done pretty much the last few times. Yeah.
Detectives had learned that the white Dodger getaway car actually belonged to Dimitri Dale.
It was hard for Dimitri Dale to explain why his car was there on the side of the road.
And I'm 40. You got into some shit.
And that Dale's cell phone showed repeated calls to a man by the name of Jovan Joseph.
And ultimately, he seemed to have a consciousness of guilt. He wanted to talk.
Dale connected the dots between Joseph and Yuri.
Joseph was the hitman. Joseph was the person who murdered Makeva. And Joseph was tied to Yuri through Dimitri Dale. Dimitri Dale was the conduit.
And he said Joseph was demanding the $20,000 he was promised by Yuri for the murder.
If he did, how did Joseph express his displeasure with the fact that Yuri hasn't given him anything?
He just told me he was going to body him. That's what he told me.
Body means?
Kill him.
And when he cracked, that opened up the floodgates.
I mean, if there's any information I can give you, I have no problem with that, you know, because at the end of the day, I know, and I told you this from day one.
Why did you cover for these guys so long? It took me 5 interviews to finally get you
because
to admit.
I was going to say something in the very beginning, but I didn't, because at the end of the day, all odds were against me. At that home that day when you guys were there, it was everybody's family but mine.
Yeah, but if you would have been straight with us, don't you realize they would have probably been arrested within a day?
I know that, and a lot of people was mad at me.
Hello?
Yeah, you're.
And Dale had one more surprise for the detectives. He had secretly recorded his phone calls with Yuri.
But murdering my wife? Man, bro, listen, dog. I'm not going to jail for that, man.
Police today arrested a suspect in the murder of Makeva Jenkins on what would have been her 34th birthday. 19-year-old Jovan Joseph was indicted by a grand jury on a charge of first-degree murder.
Mr. Joseph, would you like to say anything to her family?
Jovan Joseph was in fact the person Makeva's brother had seen and heard at their house that day, talking to Yuri and Dimitri Dale.
Yeah, the shooter and Dimitri, they were good buddies. I was mad, you know. I was just utterly devastated, disappointed.
All right, what's going on?
And now the phone calls of Yuri, secretly recorded by Dimitri Dale, would become pivotal to the investigation.
No, just walk out the room. Don't say my name, ring your phone, none of that.
All right.
Even the beginning of the recordings were pretty damning because at the beginning, Dimitri said Yuri's name and Yuri's like, no, don't use my name. Don't say my name.
And Yuri told Dimitri their secret was safe, that he would never turn on him or Jovan Joseph.
Tell that man, don't let them people scare you up, bro. I wouldn't do that, man. I would never do that, bro. Never.
Yeah. If there's 5 recordings between them, my client doesn't know he's being recorded.
Man, they don't have any evidence, bro. None.
But if I got locked up, would you help to get me out?
Yes, I would. Without a shadow of a doubt, bro.
All right.
Yes, I would.
And that's all I need to know, man.
Without a shadow of a doubt, bro.
Yuri had already covered for Joseph and Dale when he was questioned by Detective Oliver.
Dale came over earlier in the day with somebody, and I just want to show a picture. I want to confirm this is the guy. Is that who came over earlier in the day or not?
Oh, yeah, he came and got a haircut.
All right, but Quay also mentioned you. Isn't that the guy that was here earlier with Dale?
Yeah, he did say that, but I was like, nah, man, that's not him.
Don't get me wrong, you feel me? They asked me about him, and I said I ain't know the dude. All I did was cut his hair. They showed me a picture of him. I said, man, no, man, I just cut that man's hair.
Yuri, it's easy to blame everyone else. It's time for you to accept responsibility.
Now, 5 months after the murder, Detective Oliver is hoping to get a confession from Yuri Jenkins, telling him the evidence is strong against him.
But why do you think that you're sitting here right now?
Because of what you just said. Them was trying to say I gave him some money.
Yeah, you did. People rolled. I'm just going to be straight out with you.
People rolled? What do you mean people rolled?
Jovan, Dimitri.
rolled over and did what?
They gave up information.
What kind of information?
Well, the fact that you contracted Javon to do this. That's what he says. $1,500 up front, with a payment of $20,000 after you got the insurance. This is what they're saying.
I don't care about nobody rolling no bull like that, man. I don't give a damn about them.
You know you're feeling confident because you didn't pull the trigger. I mean, I know you didn't pull the trigger.
Man, I would not kill my wife, man.
Well, of course you wouldn't, but you had somebody do it.
Come on, detective.
You had life insurance to gain.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't, man. Where is that?
You thought you were getting the 500.
Man, no, I didn't.
And then Detective Oliver raised the TV news interview Yuri did the day after the murder.
You never said you missed her or loved her, and you do not show the expressions or the demeanor of a man who loved his wife and was and upset she was killed.
Man,
from the point she was killed on.
Man,
you did okay.
Just because I don't cry and hoot and holler in front of people, man, that's not me.
Honestly, everybody can go to hell.
I have no doubt in my mind, none whatsoever, Yuri. And I've been doing this job a long time. All right? And I don't expect you to admit it, because you got to protect yourself. And all you're thinking is about Yuri. And you always thought just about Yuri when you did this. It was a selfish act having Javon kill Makeva. You've been selfish your whole life.
That's a lie.
You depended on Makeva. And she wanted to divorce you, and you knew the gravy train's going to end. I better collect.
God vindicate me.
And all of that ultimately leads to Yuri being charged and indicted.
Yuri, did you kill your wife?
No, I didn't.
You said you were innocent.
I am innocent.
Then what happened?
God will vindicate me.
What do you have to say about this, Yuri?
This is some bull. God will vindicate me.
You say you're innocent?
I'm innocent. Yes, I am.
Yeah, it was just so hard to accept it. I didn't want to accept it. But I really realized that, hey, you know, you really did that. And he thought he could get away with it.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected and sworn as the jury to try the case of the state of Florida versus Yuri Jenkins. This is a criminal case.
You don't have direct evidence of Yuri. You don't have a confession. So how do you prove it? Sometimes you have to make a deal with the devil. And we did.
The prosecution had made a generous plea bargain deal with Jovan Joseph.
The hitman got 15 years in prison.
And an even more generous deal with the middleman, Dimitri Dale, who pleaded guilty to manslaughter.
Dimitri got 15 years of probation, and so he didn't serve any time.
I've been doing this 37 years, and I've never seen a deal like that with a co-defendant in a first-degree murder case, ever. They were willing to apparently do just about anything to get to my client.
Is the state ready, and do they wish to give an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please proceed.
Thank you. To paraphrase a famous murder mystery novelist, the motives for murder usually come down to the 3 L's: loathing, lusting, and/or lucre. Those 3 L's are exactly why that defendant, Yuri Jenkins, made the decision to hire someone to kill his wife, to get out of a marriage he was unhappy in, and to get a payday he thought was coming to him, but turned out not to be so. You don't have to like witnesses, and in fact, I highly doubt that you will. There is no excuse for what Dimitri Dale did in terms of his participation, and there is certainly no excuse for what Jovan Joseph did. But we're confident that when you get to the end of the trial, it'll be clear that they are telling the truth, because it's the only reasonable explanation as to why a 19-and-a-half-year-old man who had no connection with Makeva would commit such a cold-blooded murder.
Thank you. Defense would like to make an opening statement. Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
The government used this phrase in their opening statement of 3 L's. This is a trial, though, about credibility and why people simply are not to be believed when they try to cover their tracks as to why they committed a crime, in this case, Mr. Dale and Mr. Joseph. They have to testify in a way that convinces the prosecution that they're being truthful, despite the fact that they are both admitted liars, despite the fact that they have a history of not telling the truth, despite swearing to tell the truth. And we submit to you that if you really pay attention to that testimony and look at those witnesses and judge those witnesses' credibility, that at the end of this case, there's only going to be one fair and just verdict as to this matter, and that's a not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Would you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Dimitri Dale, last name is D-A-L-E.
Adrian Ellis led the team, and when you have something this serious, when so much is at stake, you want to put your best people. And she's there as one of my best people.
So I want to talk about the elephant in the room, which is you swear to tell the truth and you don't. Is that right?
That's correct.
Why should this jury believe that you are going to tell them the truth today?
It took a while for me to accept responsibility, or some responsibility, well, most responsibility for my actions. And I think at the very least, the family of Makeva Jenkins deserves justice, and I no longer want to stand in the way of her receiving the justice that is deserved to her.
And Dale began with why he said Yuri wanted his wife killed.
And I said, well, why you want to do that, And I just kind of went into details about all she did. And he was just like, man, he was in the shower, he had sex with her, and his penis couldn't get fully erect. And so therefore, he knew he didn't love her no more. He was serious and asked, did I know anyone? I said, no, I just don't hang around people that, kill people. And then I opened the door and I asked Yvonne to say, well, you know anybody that'll do something like that? And then that's how Yuri and Javon pretty much engaged in the conversation. Javon basically was saying, like, how much would you be willing to pay? And then that's when conversations about an amount came up. And that was pretty much the gist of the conversation.
Mr. Dale, did you, the defendant, and Javon Joseph plan the death of Makeva Jenkins?
I won't use the word plan, but subsequently we got together, and as a result, she's dead.
Is that nothing for me? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dale.
Mr. Weber, cross the
My strategy was to work on the conflicts, the lies, the constant lies, the number of lies that both of them had told.
Defense lawyer Greg Lehrman kept a running tally of the lies that Dale admitted on the stand that he had told during the investigation.
You were adamant that you had nothing to do with this homicide, correct?
That's what I said.
You didn't give Detective Oliver any indication at all that you knew where the gun had come from or anything of that sort, correct?
That's correct.
And that you had no knowledge of anything regarding this case.
That was a lie.
It's always a challenge for prosecutors because bad guys don't hang out with choir boys. You're gonna have people hang out with liars and murderers.
Well, I'm his friend. He's my friend. There's no Javon Joseph without me. There's no killing Makeva without Yuri.
Well, there's no killing Makeva without you and Mr. Joseph.
No. Yuri Jenkins is the one that initiated all of it because no one would ever thought to kill Makeva if it didn't come from his mouth.
Guess that would be for somebody else to decide, sir.
That's correct.
Jurors are told that if you disbelieve a witness on one thing, you can disbelieve their entire testimony.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the members of the jury.
My name is Javon
Marquise Joseph.
The hitman, Jovan Joseph, recounted how Yuri guided him to Makeva's bedroom as members of her family watched it all.
Did you say anything to him while he was going upstairs?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because he was in on the plan.
And what do you mean in on it?
Like, this was his plan.
Plan to do what?
Kill Makeva. Yuri, he motions towards me, which room she's in. And that's when I laid him down. I go in the room. Once I go in the room, I see a figure in the bed. It's dark. I'm like a couple feet away. I aim towards her head. That's when I shoot her.
How many shots did you fire?
1.
Now, why did you shoot her in the head?
Because I was trying to finish the job.
And then, as Joseph gave more details,
he told me that Yuri was trying to throw us.
Judge, we have instructed all of the family members, Makeva's family members, that there can be no outburst, no show of emotion, no display of emotion, and we will do it again, Judge. We instruct them every day.
Cross-exam, Mr. Tefani?
when court resumed, the defense sought to use its cross-examination of the hitman to paint the real mastermind as Dimitri Dale, not Yuri Jenkins.
So the only things you know about what supposedly Mr. Jenkins wants is what Mr. Dale is telling you, correct?
Yes, not through his mouth too when I met him.
Other than the times you talked to him is what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
The only other statements that you hear about what Mr. Jenkins is trying to get messages to you are coming through Mr. Dale.
Yes, sir.
You're not having them directly with Mr. Jenkins, correct?
Yes,
okay.
The other big issue is money. Dale denies ever getting any money.
Well, he handed a pile of cash to Mr. Dale.
Yes, sir.
They can't possibly both be telling the truth. They're either both lying or one of them is lying.
I'm drawing your attention to this text on July 2nd, 2017 at 12:49 p.m. Is that a text message that you're familiar with?
Yes, sir.
And in that text message you say, bro, bring me 20, I need it for gas, meet me somewhere, that's correct?
Yes, sir.
So that's about 3 days after you got $10,000 in cash, you need money for gas.
Yes, sir.
Here are these guys that said they got cash, and 2 days later, they're asking for $20 for gas, and then the response to asking for $20 for gas by Jovan Joseph is Dale saying, well, I'm broke. Well, how is that possible?
And Joseph contradicted Dale's testimony that Dale didn't know much about guns.
And whose idea was it to get a revolver?
Dale's idea.
And why did he say to get a revolver?
Leaves no shells.
Leaves no shells? You know, what does that mean to you, leaves no shells?
It's not enough evidence for the police to collect.
Like the cartridge, when you shoot the gun, it doesn't leave a shell on the floor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Dale's the one who explained that to you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
Call your next witness.
As Joseph was led away to return to prison, the prosecution called its key eyewitness, Makeva's brother.
At this time, the state will call Makeva Greer.
Okay.
My back was to the entrance to the courtroom, as was Yuri's. And the next thing we know, he's running towards my client, and he's basically tackled by a number of deputies and literally carried out of the courtroom.
Oh yeah, I was gonna try to kill him. I really didn't care what happened to me after that. They took my sister away from me. So I couldn't deal with that, and it was just hard for me, man, and I couldn't stomach it no more. I really didn't care no more what happened to me from that point on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, could I have you all go out into the jury room, please? Please don't discuss anything about the case back there.
It gave the defense clear grounds to ask for a mistrial.
All right. What's okay? Mr. Lerman, have you made a decision what you'd like to do?
The judge would have been more than happy at that point to grant a mistrial, but at the same time, we would have been waiting another 6 or 7 months, if not longer, for a new trial date. And my client didn't want to wait, and we didn't want to wait. We wanted to get it done. We are not asking for this trial, we're asking for jury instruction.
Okay, let's bring Mr. Greer back in, please.
Quay was brought back into the courtroom with deputies closely watching his every move.
I don't want you to say anything to Mr. Jenkins again. If it happens again, you are likely to have the court find you in direct criminal contempt. Do you think that you can control your emotions and your actions?
So I want to start by apologizing to the judge, and I want to apologize for my actions and how I disrupted everything.
The prosecution needed Quay's testimony as the one eyewitness who was not part of Yuri's alleged murder plot.
When you were both lying down on the ground and you said to him, hey, is that the guy, or you made some comment to him about it possibly being the friend that came over earlier, you recall that?
Yes, I recall.
So at that point, did he ever say, hey, maybe you're right?
No, he never said that.
Did he ever say, this is some information that we probably need to let the detective or let the police know when they come?
No. You know, I had to do it for Kiva. And then I really had to be Makeva up there on that stand. I had to be her voice.
Was there ever a point at all throughout this whole entire ordeal that you were left alone, not with the gunman?
No, there was never a time where I was left alone without the gunman.
Was the defendant left alone?
Yes.
Does Mr. Jenkins wish to testify? It is your decision that you do not wish to take the stand, is that correct? All right, thank you, Mr. Jenkins. All right.
No, we didn't call any witnesses because I felt that the case didn't need it.
Both the state and the defendant have now rested their case. The attorneys now will present their final arguments. Is the state ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please do so.
We're here today because of the defendant, Yuri Jenkins. And to quote Dimitri Dale, who took the stand a few days ago, he said, none of this would have happened but for Yuri Jenkins. Yuri Jenkins is the reason Makeva Jenkins is dead. The defendant obviously wanted to be with someone else. You heard about the loathing. He was no longer sexually attracted to his wife, period. He told Dimitri Dale that. Why would Dimitri Dale make that up? He made money cutting hair in his garage as an unlicensed barber. This was not a marriage that he could afford to leave. Yuri Jenkins told just as many lies as the people the defense will tell you not to believe. Not only does he lie, but he repeatedly tries to derail the investigation, even away from Dimitri Dale and Jovan Joseph. He didn't even say, hey, well, look into them. The defendant orchestrated and caused the death of his wife.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Lerman, are you ready to proceed?
Yes.
Please do so.
Good afternoon, welcome back. Yuri Jenkins now sits before you waiting for your judgment. He is not guilty of first-degree murder. This case is about lies and liars. Plain and simple. It is about lies and liars, and not Mr. Jenkins, but Mr. Dale and Mr. Joseph. It is about people who are unable and incapable of telling the truth. We know that Dimitri Dale planned this. We know that Dimitri Dale planned this without Yuri Jenkins' knowledge. It is the burden of the government to provide you with truthful, honest, sworn testimony. And when you have substantial material conflicts from that witness stand, that is a corruption of their burden. That is a failure on their part. And it is a conflict that, along with everything else in this case, calls for a not guilty verdict.
All rise, court is back in session.
Good morning, please be seated.
They were out, I think, around 2 hours and 50 minutes in total. Yuri, he seemed calm. I mean, he had high hopes. I was optimistic.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have been advised that the jury has reached a verdict.
State of Florida versus Yuri Jenkins, defendant. Verdict. We, the jury, find as follows. As to count 1, we find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment.
Makeva's grandmother, Gloria Hurl, who had raised her like a daughter, wanted to make sure Yuri Jenkins knew the full measure of what he had done.
Go right ahead, ma'am.
I just want to say to everybody, this has been a long struggle for me. And what has happened to my daughter has affected my life and the life of my family. I have nothing bad to say about him. All I wanted was justice for my child. And now, nobody wins in this case. They came to the verdict I wanted them to have, but on neither side was a winner. I know how he has made his family feel, because they had no idea he could do something like this. I just want everybody to find peace after this. That's it.
Thank you, Miss Hill. Miss Ellis, is there anything else?
Yeah.
Judge, I believe this is it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Miss Hill. All right. Mr. Jenkins, the court having found you guilty of first-degree murder, I'm required to sentence you to a term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
We never sought the death penalty in this case. This was justice. It's not perfect, but justice did come because the person who did this, the person most culpable, was Makeva's husband, who she trusted and loved, and he betrayed her in many different ways.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Facebook.
She was a kind, loving person who made the mistake of marrying a really deceptive, awful individual who was motivated by greed and by dissatisfaction with his marriage. He deserved life in prison, and he got it.